Have you ever watched a video where text, graphics, or even 3D objects seem perfectly attached to the real world and wondered, how did they make that stick there so naturally? The secret is tracking. And here's the interesting part. If you understand what After Effects is actually looking for inside your footage, tracking becomes surprisingly simple. In this video, we're not just clicking buttons. You'll learn how tracking works, why trackers fail, and the exact workflow professionals use to lock graphics into moving shots. By the end of this video, you'll be able to take a normal street shot like this and turn it into something that feels like it was filmed that way from the start. This is where most people make mistakes. Not every area of footage is trackable. After Effects needs something unique to follow. Good tracking points usually have high contrast, sharp corners, unique textures, clear details. Bad tracking points usually have flat surfaces, motion blur, reflections, repeating patterns. For example, this street sign works great because it has strong edges and contrast. Let's jump in. Tracking is not merely following a point. It is the art of digital grounding. We begin with the perspective 4-point tracker. Unlike standard point tracks, this mode solves for the holy trinity of visual perspective: scale, rotation, and shear. By identifying 4 distinct points on a plane. Now let's move into one of the most powerful tracking techniques in After Effects. First, double-click your footage layer to open it in the Layer panel. Then go to Window to open the Tracker panel. With your footage selected, click Track Motion. In the Track Type dropdown on the right, change the tracking method from Position to Perspective Corner Pin. This is the math of reality, pinned to your pixels. The magic happens within the Feature and Search regions. The inner Feature region defines the pixel pattern AE is looking for, while the outer Search region tells the engine where to look for that pattern in the next frame. Through sub-pixel sampling, After Effects interpolates the space between pixels, ensuring that your tracking markers remain perfectly fluid even on grainy, low bitrate footage. You'll now see 4 tracking points appear on your footage. These points allow After Effects to track an entire surface rather than a single point, making it perfect for screen replacements, billboards, signs, and graphics that need to match the perspective of the scene. The more accurate your placement, the better your final result will be. Once the 4 corners are positioned correctly, click Analyze Forward and watch the track as it progresses. If any point starts drifting, stop the analysis, reposition it, and continue. What makes corner pin tracking so powerful is that After Effects isn't just tracking movement, it's calculating scale, rotation, and perspective. A core tenet of professional VFX is the null object workflow. We use the null as a data container, a non-rendering vessel that holds our raw coordinate math. By parenting our master graphics to this null, we keep our artistic layers clean, allowing for independent transformation and refinement without breaking the integrity of the original solve. After the complexity of perspective, we move to the 1-point position tracker. In the Tracker panel, select Track Motion. Do not let its simplicity deceive you. Handling 80% of the heavy lifting in high-end motion graphics, it tracks X and Y coordinates with surgical speed. It's the backbone of real-time VFX, where a single high-contrast anchor point, like a bolt or a headlight, can ground an entire digital world with pixel-perfect stability. Anchor point selection. Start by identifying a high-contrast area on the cyclist. Because our footage is grainy and monochromatic, avoid low contrast areas where the grain might cause the tracker to lose its position. The parenting workflow. Instead of parenting the text directly, apply your tracking data to a null object. Then, take your "We are on the way" text layer and use the pick whip to parent it to that null. This ensures the text follows the movement while allowing you to adjust its local position independently. Correcting keyframe drift. Scrub through the timeline to check for drift. If the heavy grain causes the text to slide, manually refine the keyframes in the motion path. Precision here is what separates an amateur track from a professional one. This makes "We Are on the Way" feel like it was captured in camera. 3D camera tracking. When the camera itself moves, we transition to the 3D camera tracker, reverse engineering the environment into a dense point cloud. Precision VFX begins with spatial reconstruction. Using the 3D camera tracker, we analyze the grainy texture of the road to solve for the camera's original path. The key here is detailed analysis. It finds the subtle contrast points in the grain that a standard solve might miss. The technical solve. We aren't just following a point. We're reverse engineering the environment. Apply the 3D camera tracker effect to the clip. After Effects begins by analyzing the parallax between pixels to solve for the camera's movement and focal length. Once the analysis is complete, you'll see a 3D point cloud representing the physical space of the road and surroundings. We identify a cluster of points on the asphalt to define our ground plane. By right-clicking and selecting Create Null and Camera, we've effectively mapped the road's 3D coordinates. Now, when we place our graphics, they don't just sit on the footage. They are mathematically anchored to the 3D plane, inheriting the correct rotation and perspective as the cyclist moves through the scene. While the 3D tracker solves for the world, we use 2D position tracking to solve for the object. We track a high contrast feature on the car, like the taxi word, to generate X and Y coordinate data. We then parent our custom data tag graphic to a null driven by this data, ensuring the text object follows the vehicle with absolute precision. Now let's bring in our road graphic or traffic sign and make it part of the scene. Pre-composing gives us much more flexibility because we can adjust the design, animation, and timing without affecting the main composition. Next, move the pre-comp into position and start adjusting its scale and position until it aligns naturally with the area of the road where we want it to appear. Take your time during this stage. Small adjustments can make a huge difference in realism. The goal is to make the graphic feel like it's actually painted or installed on the road rather than floating above it. Once the placement looks good, scrub through the timeline and play the footage several times. Watch carefully to see how the graphic interacts with the movement of the shot. If something feels off, go back and refine the scale or position until it blends naturally into the environment. This process of testing, adjusting, and reviewing is exactly what professional motion designers do. The track provides the foundation, but proper placement is what sells the illusion. With the positioning and the graphic feels grounded within the scene, we'll move on to the Rotobrush tool to create realistic foreground interactions and make the effect even more believable. Next-gen Rotobrush 3.0 and layer isolation. For the city intersection, we need to isolate the car to place graphics behind or around it. We're using next-gen Rotobrush 3.0, Adobe's AI-driven isolation tool. By double-clicking into the layer, we paint a single green stroke to identify the upper layer. The AI propagates this mask across the timeline, intelligently handling the car's complex reflections and motion blur. Once the propagation is frozen, this creates a pixel-perfect alpha channel, allowing us to treat the car as a separate layer for advanced compositing.